the incredible honor to be invited as the commencement speaker for the class of 2024 Human Biology and Society graduates at UCLA. I'm so in awe of these students in particular, and I can't wait to see what all of you do next. I myself graduated from this program and just about fell out when my professor introduced me. Here he is.
I've taught here for 15 years, and in that time I have seen a lot of extraordinary students. I've also heard a lot of extraordinary excuses. Whenever it's time to turn in work, for instance, and especially around finals time, I've learned, when family emergencies tend to increase rather dramatically. I'm particularly concerned about the health of grandmothers, who are at greatest risk just hours before any deadline. Fortunately, most of them recover. Our keynote speaker today still stands out in my memory for giving the greatest excuse I've heard in my time. One day, after class, she came up to me and she said, "Professor Kelty, I can't come to class tomorrow. I'm flying to Nepal to give medical aid to the victims of a recent earthquake." It took me a moment, but only a moment, to realize that this was no excuse. Jody Spangler was going to go halfway around the world to help care for people suffering in a disaster zone, whether or not I excused her absence. From that moment on, I've looked up to her as a student, as a human, and now as a doctor and an educator. Dr. Jody Spangler is now a practicing family medicine physician. She graduated with honors from our own Human Biology and Society major in 2016. And then she went to medical school at the University of Washington School of Medicine in Seattle. Dr. Spangler recognizes that human health is deeply interconnected with the health of the environment. She works on projects that improve access to high-quality healthcare, cultivate true wellness, and also projects that make people smile. Grounding her practice in evidence-based medicine, a curious spirit, fierce advocacy, and a deep love for life's big questions, she encourages us to reconnect with ourselves, with each other, and with nature. Dr. Spangler is the mother of two, a skydiver, a surfer, an outdoor type, an old van tinkerer. She advocates for injecting the spirit of adventure into everyday life. So it is with utmost pleasure and pride that we welcome Dr. Jody Spangler, your class of 2024 ISG commencement keynote speaker.
I was so touched to be able to mark this occasion with this class especially. Many of them didn't get to experience their high school graduation due to the pandemic. So anyway, here is what I decided to say.
All right. Hello, class of 2024, and congratulations. I am delighted to be here to celebrate you all today. Thank you, graduates, for inviting me as your commencement speaker. Now, I'm going to start by telling you a story. This is not a new story. It's actually an old tale, thought to be told first by an incredible medical sociologist and disability rights advocate, Irving Zola. Maybe you've heard it before. It's about a strange place where the rhythm of life is dictated by the river. Should we go? So, an unspoken pact had been formed there. They'd spend their days in shifts perched on the river's edge, eyes scanning the water, hands ready to save lives. Someone would inevitably appear, struggling against the current, and with a flurry of activity, they'd be hauled out to safety. It's become their thing, And the work was relentless. One day, as yet another person was pulled out, gasping and grateful, a visitor, probably after taking Soc-Gen 105, walked up on the scene. Wait, who the hell is pushing all these people in upriver? Graduates, I know that each of you are the ones who asked this question, and that you all don't just look upstream. You wade with curiosity through the muck of the water. You look under, around, above, and below. Some of you have even investigated whether there are microplastic in the water itself, or the effect on the microbiome years after someone had been pushed in. You have learned to question, to investigate all the way upstream, to critically engage with various intellectual perspectives across disciplines. And after all that, you are not only able to understand and explain your findings, but I've seen you then take the next crucial step: to act, to advocate, build solutions, and lead the way towards a brighter future. Graduating from this program, your thinking and your work is decisively interdisciplinary, intersectional, and downright inspiring. I'm truly honored to be standing here today to help mark this incredible achievement. As a graduate of the UCLA Institute for Society and Genetics myself, I know that this day does go by really quickly. And I know that some of your minds may be focused to paths ahead. I know that when I was sitting in your shoes, I was considering whether medical school was even the right choice for me, having found out I was pregnant with my first son just 2 days before. I did end up going. So, I want to invite each of you to take a moment, take a breath, and be where your feet are. Savor this moment. And look around. Your classmates and friends are your future colleagues, collaborators, ruckus makers. This community in the room, or in outside, I guess, I wrote this earlier, is magic waiting to happen. I see so many smiling faces beaming with pride. Family and friends of the graduates, this moment is for you too. I want to say thank you and celebrate the love and support that allows all of our success along the way. Wherever you go from here, remember to find the others. Seek them out, and harder still, stay in touch. The ones who are willing, like you, to poke the status quo, follow their curiosity, and stand together in the face of uncertainty and change. Now, you have been navigating your educational journey and endless to-dos in a dizzy whirlwind of crisis. For years, we've been told that we live in unprecedented times. You've seen social divisiveness, war and atrocity, climate catastrophes, a global pandemic, and cracks in systems and institutions along the way. You have alternated being one in the water with being the one pulling others out. But through it all, you have showed up for yourselves, for each other, and for that, I'm in awe of your dedication, tenacity, and impressive grit. A note on not becoming jaded from a crunchy new physician who oftentimes feels like I'm banging my head against the wall in a system seemingly designed for maximum frustration. My friend Seth warned me that sooner or later, many idealists risk turning into disheartened nihilists who mistakenly believe that giving up is the same thing as being realistic. We can start out thinking we're going to change the world, settle for changing institutions, and then realize along the way how difficult it is to even change our own lives. But we are not the kind of people who give up and call it being realistic. So as you navigate your career infused with meaning and purpose, know that there is a difference between overwhelm and nihilism. Overwhelm stems from the sheer scale of the issues at hand. It's a natural response to what seems beyond the scope of individual influence. Nihilism, on the other hand, can arise from a sense of helplessness, leading to a belief that our efforts are meaningless, but spoiler alert, they are not. Alone, we risk overwhelm, but together, there's empowerment through action and through inquiry. Small actions make us feel less helpless and thus less hopeless, especially when we go together. Before my final exam, as you've heard in Professor Kelty's class, I had to give him a heads up that I might be missing 2 weeks of lecture and would probably be back in time for his exam and also my dreaded OChem final. I had the opportunity to again join as a small part of a disaster response team that I'd worked with previously in Haiti to go to Nepal after an earthquake there killed 8,900 people, injured 21,000 more, and left 3 million displaced without homes. I'm not sure if you guys missed the magic of Mr. Rogers as kids, but there's a quote of his that sticks with me. He said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" Well, when I found myself camping in the rain, feeling each aftershock rumble, I met someone who embodied this ethos. He was a local with the Ministry of Health working in logistics and translation. I watched as he gathered groups of friends night after night. They went to each home, shook hands, were welcomed, ushered in with each family to assess their needs and survey any damage. These nightly rounds blew my mind. I thought to myself, this is community. This is a master class in connection and looking out for each other. He identified grandparents with injuries thus far untreated, a lack of blankets, shortage of rice, or inadequate kindling for a fire, quick to offer a hand, gracious in both giving and receiving. Over the years, I have had this really strange privilege of holding space in the aftermath of disasters. Big ones like earthquakes, and also big ones like sharing difficult diagnoses with my patients and their families. Again and again, I am struck by the helpers of the world. My friend Samuel, who lives in Port-au-Prince, is another who works with me on funding healthcare scholarships in his hometown. Or my friend Chef Andrew, fighting for healthier school lunch. Or Guillermo at Latino Health Access, working day in and day out to ensure patients in Santa Ana have access to high-quality diabetes care. The magic of these helpers is built up long before the moment of crisis. Now that we are grown up, I think that we can do more than just look for the helpers. I think we can become the helpers ourselves. As I focus my career now on the intersection between the health of the individual and the health of the environment, I do think healing one requires attending to the other, and continued patient care. I'm trying to figure out how to connect us more deeply to ourselves, to nature, and to each other. Because I do think community is just a symptom of shared connection, built over time, with deliberate action and with care. Yvon Chouinard says to do good, you actually have to do something. And I think pragmatic optimism backed by action can guide us forward. We acknowledge the gravity of our reality while nurturing an unwavering belief in the possibility of a better future. This belief is not naive, it's informed, grounded in the understanding that progress is often slow, that setbacks are part of the journey, and that hope is a compass that points us in the right direction. But hope always asks something of us, and today it is asking something of you. That you don't just have a passive wish, but go after things with full enthusiasm and active engagement, full force. I hope I can convince you to embrace a shift in mindset from changing everything to changing something, and to starting right now. After years of getting really good at asking, is this on the test? At UCLA, you've become an expert at two things we so desperately need: how to seek out interesting problems and how to lead. We do not need more people who are good at checking boxes, clocking in and clocking out, sitting still and following directions. We need you. You who seek out interesting problems, meaning the big, thorny problems of our times, the ones that are biopsychosocial, problems where human behavior meet logistics and misaligned incentives, where large systems have cracked open. You are challenged to find opportunity. And you who lead, leading us, wayfinding, and encouraging us all to join you along the way. Emerson said that an ounce of action is worth a ton of theory, and not to be squeamish about your actions. Each of us can show up and act in our own way, but we do have to decide to show up. And as someone who surfs with my kids after shifts at the hospital and does occasionally enjoy jumping out of planes, please don't forget to have a damn good time along the way. So let me tell you just one more story. It's about a woman I met after getting strange looks from my oncology colleagues after asking if they knew any patients who'd like to come skydiving with me. A tiny little skydive tradition first started while I was here at UCLA for people facing tough diagnoses, and I was hoping to share the feeling of freedom that I felt under canopy. So, at 15,000 feet, the door of this little plane opened to reveal blue skies. And she looked at me, having finished chemo and finished her double mastectomy, fully recovered. She stared at the door and back and shouted, "I really just want to feel brave." And with a smile and a shriek, she waved, toes on the edge, before leaping out with her instructor. The stories shared together after these life-affirming jumps stay with me forever. I know that you will find your own moments, toes on the edge in the plane, deciding whether to leap towards new adventures. Remember to take a deep breath and smile while staring down the big thorny problems of our time. And with all the bravery that you can muster, I hope you go. I have no doubt in my mind that every single one of you graduating today will be successful. My hope is that you decide to create work that matters, to find the magic that happens when the goal is to leave things better off than when we found them. After all, living a life infused with meaning, soul, purpose, and joy is a kind of brave act in and of itself. Congratulations, graduates. Now, go make something happen.